cybersecurity firms with the kind of skills and competencies they look for when they hire talent. Today, we have with us Vivek Srivastava, Country Manager for India and SAARC at Fortinet. We also have Prasad Mandava, India MD at Akamai. We also have Harish Kumar GS, Executive Director of Sales at Checkpoint Software Technologies. And in a short bit, Mahipal Nair, Managing Director at Trellix India, and who's also the VP of Head of Human Resources for the APJ region, will be joining us. He's having a few technical difficulties. So why don't we just open up? Maybe we can start with Vivek. Cybersecurity talent is constantly required. In your mind, what are some of the most important skills that you look for when you're hiring people?
Okay, thanks, Akhil, and hello, everyone. I think cybersecurity over the last few years we have seen as a very, very dynamic space, and the kind of skill set and the talent that we have been looking, from this field has been ever changing. We find it even more, relatable these days, considering the kind of digital acceleration that we are seeing across. Cybersecurity plays a very, very crucial role. For all our digital transformation exercises that we are doing, for those to be successful, cybersecurity plays a very, very crucial role. And what we have also seen that the skill set that we need in cybersecurity domain these days have also kind of evolved. Probably 4 or 5 years back, we primarily used to look at, the skill sets which are primarily specific to certain technologies, certain product set within cybersecurity. Now, the skill set levels that we look at within the cybersecurity, if you look at the subject matter, it becomes very, very comprehensive. So we just don't look at only the skill set around a technology or around a product or tool. We now look at cybersecurity as a domain, your expertise within the domain. How do you well understand the cybersecurity domain and different aspects of it? Beyond the qualification around understanding the domain and the technologies and the processes within it, I think there are some soft skills that are very, very crucial that we believe from cybersecurity standpoint play a very, very crucial role. If you really ask me, when I look at building my team, I normally look at these skill sets like, how detailed do you normally do your analysis? Your analytical mind, how quickly that comes into action. Your ability to solve problems, how minutely you look at the problems and try and find solutions. These are some of the soft skills that I normally look at from cybersecurity skill set perspective. I think from domain standpoint, there are different certifications and levels of technical assurances that you can ask from candidates, and based on the time that they've spent in honing those skills with those certifications, comes as a very, very important aspect when it comes to the skill sets that we look at today.
Harish, you want to jump in?
Hey, thanks, Akhil. Hey, thanks, Vivek, for setting the context, right? So, as Vivek said, there are two parts to the skilling in cybersecurity, right? One is the technical part, and the other is the soft skill side. And when you look at the technical skills, it could vary from, basic scripting to knowing how the software systems work, how the network security control works, how incident response has to be done, so on and so forth, right? But when it comes to the soft skill, which is what, the industry is moving towards, if you are a good guy who's trying to defend an organization, then you need to know how the bad guys, kind of penetrate the organization, right? So you need to have a very solid knowledge of what happens in this field, how do they hack into your systems, and what are the typical vulnerabilities they look for. So you need to know the bad guys if you want to be a good guy, right? The second thing is that, there's a lot of fog of war in this industry, right? So something which is there, present, near and dear in front of you may not be the truth, and there could be something which is lying beneath the surface, which is visible to you, right? So you need to have the knowledge and the wherewithal to see through the fog of war. And of course, the last and but not the least, what we look for is somebody who's good at fuzzy logic, right? There could be multiple ways you are arriving at the same solution, and there could be multiple routes an attack can happen. And today,
is that what fuzzy logic is?
yeah, fuzzy logic is about multiple things. Yeah, I mean, it is about it's a way to variable processing allows multiple possible values
Okay.
which are processed through the same variable, right?
Mhm.
So if and there are multiple routes and multiple ways, logs which are presented to you at this point of time, at any point of time, right? So there is another thing which we look for with the candidates. And of course, the technical skills, it depends upon the domain you want to hire and whether the person is good at that domain, whether not only that, whether he is also good at the adjacent domains. That is something which is very important. These are the points from my end, Akhil.
Excellent. Prasad,
Yeah, thank you, Akhil. Just want to say I work for Akamai. We are an internet technology company working on content delivery, cybersecurity, and cloud computing. And to add to Harish and Vivek, basically, I just want to call out that the roles are very varied. While the cybersecurity landscape is by itself pretty large, you look at the roles. You have customer-facing roles. You have sales roles, you have services roles, you have support roles regarding cybersecurity. And then once you go internal, you have great engineering roles, architect roles, analyst roles, operations. The list goes on and on. So definitely very vast set of roles and suiting any kind of personality. One point I would like to add is that we look at innovation as a key driver in our cybersecurity business. And what we do is we encourage innovation through programs like our Wizards Global Innovation Program to ideate around certain cybersecurity areas. We also sign up with startups. We collaborate with startups, which are doing very key work externally and trying to understand what they're doing. So I think that's also important when you're working on stuff apart from the technical skills and the soft skills.
Mahipal, you want to jump in?
Sorry, I joined late.
No problem.
Thank you, sir. So, Akhil, if you can just tell me what question we were talking about.
Yeah. We're just talking about, the basic skills and competencies that, what does Trellix look for when you're hiring people? What do you like the best skills you look for?
Yeah. So generally look for good computer science fundamentals, programming skills, good with algorithms and data structures. So that's what we look for because the talent supply is not ready-made for cybersecurity industry.
Right.
And then, of course, so this I'm referring to in general.
Right.
But if I had, especially at the entry level, but if I were to look at more lateral, then of course for more niche skills with the relevant kind of background in any of the subspaces of cybersecurity, whether it's network, endpoint, forensic, and all that.
Right.
So yeah.
No, that's actually a good point. There is no set curriculum, right? That most people actually
yes.
I'm sure that has its
there are
own
only couple
drawbacks.
of there are only a couple of academic institutions. We have sort of a tailor-made programs. One, I think there is a master's program that I know of. Of course, there is this forensic institute out there. So, other than that, there are not too many, and only in the last few years that institutions have started doing some basic part of cybersecurity as a module, and that's something it's imperative on the cybersecurity industry to influence and also partner with academia to start off that stream, because this is one industry which is poised for growth.
What about certifications? Vivek, are they important? There are a lot of these certifications that people can do, right? From a lot of cybersecurity companies as well. How valuable are those?
So I think they have their own set of credentials that they add to a candidate's profile. If you look at the cybersecurity, industry today and the kind of career options that you have today, is very comprehensive. As I think one of the fellow speakers also, kind of talked about the range that he have, the roles that he can do, starting from business to advisory to consulting, to software development, product development, to operations, to incident response for that matter. So there are varied, roles available. one can actually make an entire career out of cybersecurity domain itself, which primarily probably a few years back was not an option. Now, within the cybersecurity, let's say a domain that you want to pick up, which is on, say, security operations, right? Let's say if you want to work on security operations, then there are multiple different certifications available, which not only help you hone your skills, which also add a lot of credential to what you understand, in the operations field, right? So when I look at the candidates, or when we look at the candidates, who have some of these, certifications that they have done, we for sure understand that yes, the candidate has for sure gone through some level of understanding, training, education, and some practical, exercises that he has done, which gives me a level of assurance for the candidates, fitment, for the roles that we look forward to. So these certifications are available, on different domains. And depending on what a particular person is probably interested in, if it's from the software development side, then there are different level of certification. If it's from the operation or incident response side, there are different level of certifications. So one can pick up those certification and can, dive as deep as, one wants to, to build these skills and credentials around it. It's very, very crucial, to add value to your, candidature when you look at building career in cybersecurity domain.
Right. Prasad, maybe I can jump to you. Certifications, are those a big thing at Akamai?
So it's an interesting question. I think I agree with Vivek for certain areas like operations where you want to do certain standardized incident response and things like that. There is value there. But if you are building a product like we do cybersecurity products, right? I feel, right now industry is not ready to give us people who can directly jump in. So we do evaluate them based on their basic computer science technology. We bring them in, we do internships, we have ways to build the skills, over time. And that's the way we also give back, I would say, in this area. That's important for us. I think you need to bring in the right mindset and the right basics and be able to pick up on the job, especially when it comes to the engineering side of things, product engineering side of things.
Harish, I'm sure Checkpoint, you guys develop a lot of cybersecurity software out of here, right?
Yeah. We've started investing in India, and we've started our development centers in India.
Yeah. So when you're developing, complex software that's supposed to bat away all these attacks constantly, like, what's that? What type of skills do you need for that?
I'll take a step back and answer you, Akhil. And the thing is, it depends on what you are going to do in the cybersecurity industry, right? Whether you're going to be a practitioner, whether you're going to be an advisor, or whether you're going to be a developer, right? Who's involved in the developing. The first two job roles, which is a practitioner as well as the advisor, would necessarily require some kind of certification on the areas in which you're going to operate in, right? So that has become an essential thing now. And if you don't have certification, you would rather focus on getting it done as quickly as possible if you want a long career in cybersecurity, right? But then coming to development, it's a whole new different game, as Prasad mentioned, right? Your aptitude, your innovation, your knowledge of what happens in the overall scenario, that will help you, right? And so in a way, when you're getting into a developer, while you look for some niche capabilities and niche knowledge as to what they're going to work for and what technology they're going to work on, you necessarily don't look at any specific certifications for them. But that becomes mandatory if you're a practitioner or if you're an advisor.
Mahipal, maybe you can jump in. How do you stay up to date to all these latest hacks? Because I frequently hear about some new virus malware that's unique.
So we have, we have this Advanced Research Council. So it's a big, large team spread worldwide, and that's what they do. They they have the niche skills. They scan the environment. They constantly are checking about what's happening, what's new, and that's how they then provide the advisory support to the rest of the business units and also to our clients. And so that's on the one side. That's a dedicated team. Of course, not to say that others are not scanning the environment. Plus, of course, the client feedback does come in, so that's there. In terms of upgrading skills, then of course we constantly provide those either externally or internally. So our talent is always on the edge and always sharp. So that those are the ways and means by which one side is constantly upgrading the skills of people who are in the company, and then second is the dedicated pool of cybersecurity professionals who are always scanning the market and giving us the insights based on what's happening on the market.
I remember talking to cybersecurity companies the last few years. I always hear this constant need for innovation, more than even other industries. If you don't innovate, you are basically dead, right? Because your hackers are constantly innovating.
Yeah.
Right? Vivek, you want to jump in?
I think that's been the core of cybersecurity, for many years. If you're not an adversary and you are a defender, just imagine this. As a defender, I'll have to be successful every single time. And as an adversary, you just need to break me once. So you got to be constantly on your toes. You got to be constantly, be ahead of the game. And that primarily works in two aspects. And that again, adds one more dimension to building, career in cybersecurity. That is the research, field of it, right? And the research primarily, for us works in two ways. One is the research around technology, understanding the loopholes, understanding the weaknesses, understanding the typical uses and practices that people get into. And the second side of it is understanding the adversary psychology. How your adversaries are working, what is that their modus operandi is, what tools or tactics that they use and leverage, and use all that intel to your advantage to not only innovate the product line that you're building, but also the strategy that you suggest to your customers that you work with, right? So that becomes a very, very important field. The intel and the research field becomes a very, very crucial field for any cybersecurity organization to be successful, and that again adds another dimension to cybersecurity career. Okay.
Prasad, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting topic, actually. There are professional bad actors out there, to add to Vivek, who are literally on payroll to kind of go and break stuff, right? And you have seen this more and more in the last few years with the pandemic, where digitization has increased tremendously, e-commerce has increased tremendously, and remote working has increased tremendously. So it's just like gone all over, right? And what we notice is that these bad actors are literally on a job to break into stuff, and you get into these ransomware kind of scenarios where you're placed in pretty bad situation if you are hit. And companies like ours build the threat intelligence about stuff like that. Research is exactly what it is. And we also evolve along with the industry new architectures that can help you set it up ground up. There are things like zero trust, right? And that's an industry term, but you evolve those so that you can help people who come up saying, hey, have you considered this? And that's constant learning for our folks, right? I mean, you have
what is zero trust? Maybe our listeners.
Zero trust in a very simple way is that every access that you give into your system, you validate, right? That is zero trust. It's in a very simple form, but there's pictures you can draw, and there's a lot of micro segmentation and a whole bunch of things you can do to protect your main assets, digital assets. Let's put it that way, right? And these are the things that are evolving, which means our team members really have to be top of their game. They have to be understanding the evolving threat landscape by looking at data points from across the world. We're all global. And based on that, you also are now going to your customers and industry and helping out. So it's a very dynamic area and very, very interesting.
Harish, you want to jump in? So the area of research, how important it is for all of you.
Yeah. So, see, cybersecurity is a vast area, right? And we are in a whole new season after the pandemic. The season, there is no sight of the season coming to an end. And if you really look at it, if earlier, if there was a device at your home or at work, they were connected to electricity. Now, 80% of those devices are connected to internet. And if you're connected to internet, then they become smart. Once they are smart, they're vulnerable, right? So in terms of your knowledge bank, it has to be constantly evolving, and it has to, be in the space where you kind of understand what really are happening. The old attacks are back. Gone are the days when we used to use telnet for networking, right? So the telnet, the whole telnet got done away with in the corporate networks. But then the telnet is now back through IoT. And, these attacks, the old cyber attacks, which used to happen, let's say a decade or so back, are back in vogue currently. So you need to know your history, your pedigree. You need to know where things have evolved from, how have bad threat actors have typically been working, so on and so forth. So it's a place where you constantly, learn. You constantly have to have a hands-on experience. So you cannot be a theorist in this place. So, mere research would not get you anywhere, but research with some hands-on experience is what will propel you in this industry.
Mahipal, you want to jump in? I know Trellix has quite a few people, I think, close to 2,000 or something, engineers here.
Yes. Yeah. So 2,000, about 1,000 are engineers. So there are other disciplines as well. So, yeah, but more or less other points. So one is that the need of the hour is such that that you need to have more and more talented professional, and there is a gap. The other point I'd like to just add to what everyone else has said is that as a risk assessment or threat assessment is always can be treated as subjective until it happens. So the benefit of hindsight can be different, but then what happens in general life? So when any incident that happens, when a bad actor comes in, people make all kinds of threat assessment, but only when the event happens. So cybersecurity as an industry is facing that challenge where a CISO will make a threat assessment, but may not get the right kind of support because they will still think, oh, it's not that big a risk. Now, the last couple of years, things have expanded, and we have these situations where you have 400 malware introduced every minute, but then our level of preparedness is very low, and that has been constantly proven. And even specifically to India, though now we know AIMS incident is now maybe it's 6-8 months old, but if an institution as highly rated as AIMS can be breached, then you can imagine what a small time hospital will have or a small time organization will have. And that data leak or that will happen through that is unimaginable. So that's the kind of world that we are living in, and I think as was conveyed, the bad actors have to succeed only one time. And this is also a space where you don't need too much of skills. So it's like, ironically, this space is similar to the space of physical security. So at the border, you need the trained defense personnel. But when the bad actor comes in, you just need a mercenary. And if mercenary is driven by either a passion and passion is always for money or just for destruction, there is no match to it. So that's the kind, and that's why I personally expect this is the industry where more and more people should be able to join as a career option. It's like it's nothing equal to, if I were to use a very high sounding word, saving the world. What better space than to secure the life of every individual in this earth? So, but then when you look at the gap, that is phenomenal. Like the kind of people you need to have, if you're talking about 400 incidents per minute, then level of preparedness has to be high. And so, and that's the reason I initially said that no, this is an industry which is poised for growth, because this is going to get worse before it becomes better.
Yeah. Now, Harish, before mentioned about the fact that after pandemic we've entered a new era. So now, what is the situation with AI coming into the picture, with generative AI and the ability to write code so quickly? So, from what I understand, even hackers are very good at using generative AI to write code.
Akhil, if I may, just want to complete
please.
Mahipal's before you get into AI, because that's a very meaty topic. So I just wanted to add, he brought up a very good point. I think there are also state-sponsored actors out there that's happening. And these are attacks targeting very critical medical infrastructure, energy infrastructure, things like that. And that really complicates, and he's right. If you are in cybersecurity, you are saving the world, because these are very malintentioned attacks, and to save that, you really need to have high level of skills and awareness. And I just wanted to add that before you jump into AI.
Yeah, we'll get lost into the AI topic for sure. So who wants to start with this? Vivek, you want to jump in?
I think, see, one thing that we started saying is inclusion of AI, at least at Fortinet. We leverage that, for all the, operations level benefits that we want to pass on to our customers who are using Fortinet technologies. So we use AI, for, easing that function out for them. If you look at from the AI users perspective, I think one thing that I'm very clear that in the next few years, AI will be, good to do all the mundane, tasks, of cybersecurity operations. But at the same very time, it adds another dimension to the skill set that you need on cybersecurity. All the advanced level of activities, all the advanced level of analytics, all the advanced level of, operations will now depend on the higher level of skill set that you have amongst your people. That means the requirement of the skill set, goes a notch higher.
Right.
As you introduce the AI into the operations, into the products, and into the technologies. The mundane tasks can be taken care of, but the cybersecurity skill set now has to be even improvised further, to work on the higher level of the components. So that's how I look at it right now. So we leverage AI in multiple different aspects of our technologies and products, and the way we let our customers leverage the products. A lot of AI-based functionality have been added. But at the same very time, we also believe that AI also, adds another dimension to skill set that our people need to add, from cybersecurity.
So what are these higher level skill sets then?
I think one very, very simple piece that I look at is, adding little more, analytical skills. I think the analytics is one big aspect of cybersecurity today. Starting from the research to the development to the leveraging the technologies in your infrastructure. Analytics plays a very, very crucial role. And that's where the higher level of a skill set, higher level of analytical skill set, in cybersecurity domain becomes very, very crucial. The kind of data points available for analytics is huge. And while you do some basic stuff with AI, a lot of detailed analytics is needed from the human skill set perspective as well.
Right. Prasad, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to call out that, traditionally AI has been a part of, our product. So a few years ago, we did have AI to recognize a user pattern, whether it actually matches a human or a bot, right? And then because they're two different patterns, and AI could find that out. And then you kind of figure out if it's a bot, is it a good bot, bad bot? There's all kinds of stuff that AI was helping us with. So that is traditional AI. What has changed the game is this generative AI, which has come in recently, which has become broadly available, activity kind of stuff. And I look at it as the industry is ready for it. Now the challenge goes up to the next level, because on the attack side, they can easily pump out stuff, it's very easy to send out phishing emails or whatever using the generative AI. So you can only expect the volumes to go up, the sophistication to go up, but then the industry is also ready with the right kind of products and skills on this side to take on the attack. So I think, like we said before, it's very dynamic. We are on the cusp where generative AI is now available to the common person out there, which means it will fall into the bad actors' hands, but it will also be used really well operationally with the cybersecurity industry. That's my view.
Harish?
Yeah. So, nothing, not many things to add, right? But then if you really look at it, there was a time when Checkpoint was using the AI engines. We used to use, 40 plus, 50 plus engines to read the signatures of, every single activity which is happening in your network, and then, giving you an actionable intelligence around it, right? So, but then Checkpoint moved from a, simple AI engine into deep learning, into neural networks, and understanding, very complex pattern which are constantly evolving. And these engines were as good as the data and algorithms behind it, right? So if you had, good data and you had a good algorithm, your AI engine used to be good. But what has happened with generative AI is kind of a democratization of AI, right? You don't have to build your own algorithms. You don't have to build your own data sets to go and train your AI engine. A trained AI engine is already available to you with a click of a mouse or a button, right? And that kind of gives enormous power to people, and which means that, there is an enormous power which is given to the bad actors too, right? People are generating or, coding malwares out of, Chat GPT.
Yeah.
You just have to know what questions to ask and what to ask before, for it to get. So, and hence, because of the lack of human-like, touch to, these kind of generative AI thing, the generative AI technologies, the exploitations are also quite high, right? And hence, you would find always now the whole thing getting into a bootstrap moment, right? Generative AI would bring in a lot of, use cases and vulnerabilities, and then every single organizations will have to build another AI engine to go and beat this. And this is going to, continue for a while before it kind of, we reach a point where we can sit back and look at AI as a very positive technology to the world.
Mahipal?
Yes, so similar to what the other comments is that the advantage onto the other side is much stronger, because there's almost low code or no code kind of syndrome that anyone can jump in. But then this is at the core of the way cybersecurity industry is shaping up. The kind of product it is building are largely leveraging the large language model or generative capability, because that's the only way we can tackle a situation where 300 to 400 malware is being introduced every minute, because you can't, human capability is not. So it will have to be used to augment, and it's being done. It's not something new. And the future also lies there, because where the combination of AI and ML is the kind of product that you deliver to the world, which will then constantly learning, evolving, and handling, because that's the only way. But at the same time, landscape has also increased. I'm also hoping that through regulation, the kind of features, when the advanced versions of Gen AI are introduced, that they also come up with certain controls in place, because that's and I've got to know that there are some efforts on that side as well, because otherwise the whole world is going into a spin, because both sides will continue. It's like whoever wins first or is ahead. So that kind of, so hopefully in the times to come, the Gen AI models will also be such that they come up with their own protection. But at the same time, and this is the, if I were to use the word fun part of being in cybersecurity, because the whole thrill of being ahead of the game and especially when it comes to being ahead of the non-state actors, criminals, or other state-sponsored kind of people. That's the fun part of it, and that's the only way to grow. So there is steep learning and always adapting. That's the future.
So we have an audience question. Maybe we can take that. MB Harish Raja is asking, what type of qualifying degree does one need to, get into to get an interview at least from one of your companies? Who wants to take that?
Yeah, I can go.
Please.
So as of now, if I were to go by the kind of we had about 60, 70 graduate hires earlier this year. So we went to the tech. So we went to IITs, we went to NITs, and we went to many other institutions. And we just focused on the basics, whether people are familiar with so general degrees, nothing out of the world. Like I said at the beginning, there are only a couple of institutions are offering specialized degree, and then from that pool, of course, we have our own aptitude test. Then we funnel. But in terms of looking for specifically, no, that we're going to the general institutions, engineering ones, and that's where we draw the pool from.
If I may add,
Prasad, please.
Yeah, so we do, just like Mahipal mentioned, we do college hiring. So that's specific to certain basics, like whether it's computer science. But it depends on, the question whether it is lateral hiring. I think, when it comes to lateral hiring, you do care more about the skills and attitudes the person is bringing to the table, more than the degree. You look at it, but primarily, I think my fellow panel members mentioned it, did you acquire some knowledge in some area? Have you been on the cusp of certain thing, domain versus technical? Those things matter too, because that's the way we get people into the fray.
Of course. Vivek, what about at Fortinet? Is it different for like freshers and lateral hires, like Prasad was saying?
I think basics remain same, when it comes to the basics of understanding the domain. I would say today, as Mahipal said today, we are not still at a situation where we can, go and full-fledged look at the undergraduate program, which are purely built on cybersecurity curriculum, right? There are very far and few such. So normally you stick to the basics of computer science and IT. And of course, there are domains which are now being offered within that as a specialization, like cybersecurity being one of them, AI, ML being one of them, data science being one of them. So those are these different domains which are there. So we normally look at, if you really ask me, if I have to guide a person who wants to build something in cybersecurity from the day one, I would say it starts with such programs, with computer science. And then you can choose your lanes. You can, create your own lanes with the specific certifications that you want to build within, with that basic qualifications. So, and that certifications can be in different areas of cybersecurity. As I said, domain offers multiple different swim lanes for you. You can define which is the swim lane that you want to pick up, for you, and then start, honing your skills and building your skills. That adds some more credential to your cybersecurity candidature.
Harish?
Yeah, so I can just to answer you this particular question from the audience. If you're looking at a fresh graduate, generally we're looking at somebody from a good institute, somebody with a decently computer-aware qualification, which could be either electronics or computers or data science and things like that. But I can tell you something very recently, as recent as last week, something which happened at Checkpoint. We have a program called as Young Professionals Program, right? Where we kind of recruit, graduates and people below 1 year of experience, and then train them for a period of 1.5 years, and then put them on the job. So when I was doing that, and I came across a chemistry graduate who raised his hand up, and he said that, look, I have done this so and so in your field of expertise, and these are my credentials. And those kind of raise your hand capabilities, you cannot miss. Those are the talents which you really look for. And hence, added to the degrees, what I would advise for the people who are listening to this, podcast, to go and gain some on-hand experience, right? That's going to take you much further away, much further into the interview zone.
Right.
Akhil, if I
Akhil,
may
if I
add,
can,
Please.
sorry.
Mahipal, you go first. I already
Okay,
spoke.
thanks, Akhil. So yeah, I just wanted to add that the irony of this industry is that the non-state actors have no qualification, or even if they have, we don't know. So this is also an industry, which is something that we need to experiment in, and we will. We have some thoughts around it, that you don't have to have a qualification, because there could be people who are extremely good at it. And of course, you probably remember that many years ago when the term ethical hacker was introduced. So there is this. So again, taking the point that those who are listening, there are people who are intuitively good at this space and learned on their own, and there's so much to learn today which is not there, let's say a decade or two earlier. But now you can be a self-trained, and this is one space where I am pretty sure that non-state actors are not gone to the best of institutions, yet they are able to penetrate the most strongest of firewalls. So there are ways that we will have to define, and we've been doing. That's as an industry, we will have to figure out a way that can we draw that kind of a pool as well, who may not have, because this is one place where you don't need a degree, or that should not be the only reason that you qualify for a role in cybersecurity industry. Thanks.
Prasad, you were saying.
Yeah, I just want to add a different angle to it, which is, we are a very diverse and inclusive company, and internal mobility is very key for us. So one of the things we always do is tapping our internal workforce if new roles open up in cybersecurity, and whether you call it reskilling, upskilling, that investment and that trust is there. So one other angle, based on this individual's question, is to kind of get into a role where you fit in today, but work on moving into a cybersecurity role over time. And that is, I think, just like Harish mentioned, that is seen very positively with your attitude and your skill building, that you look to kind of enter it, with a plan over time. I think that's very much, careers are very, I would say fluid, and you should be able to kind of get there. It's just another.
If I may make one more suggestion here, okay, see, at Fortinet, we very clearly identified this as a very, very crucial area to build the industry, right? And for many years, we have been running a very, very strong skilling, upskilling, and education program. Today, if you see, close to about 1 million plus, people are there who are well trained and certified, by Fortinet training programs. At least for our Indian friends here, I can make a quick suggestion. So we have been very, very focused in India as well with our public and private sector partnerships. In one, of course, attracting people to the field, right, to cybersecurity domain to build a career out of it, and second, upskilling them. So one of those partnerships that we have here in collaboration with the AICTE, All India Council for Technical Education, and we signed off on this program very recently, where we have pledged to offer virtual internship to about 100,000 students across India. So the interested candidates can approach AICTE and apply for those virtual internship from Fortinet as well, which are the courses primarily built on cybersecurity and different areas in cybersecurity. So can be a good starting point for them as well.
Okay, excellent. Actually, I'm glad upskilling came into the picture. How would someone go about that? Vivek, you mentioned some partnerships, like, for example, some employee at some company want to upskill. What route should they take? Should they maybe go to one of these, so many edtech companies now with all sorts of certification degrees? Should they go that route? or should they look at their own company's upskilling route? What's the best way?
So there are multiple, I would say options available today to candidates. I think that way we have made some progress in last 24 months, a lot. As I said, one program can be look at those, certified organizations who are offering these, because of their expertise in the area, because of the work that they have done, like Fortinet for that matter. You can look at the programs that they offer. That could be one. There are, of course, all those tech companies which offer some of those co-branded programs and self-built programs as well. At Fortinet, we also work with an infrastructure which is the training center infrastructure. That is primarily available in good 150 countries. So there we offer different domains within cybersecurity, different certifications and different programs within those domains as well. That could be one piece that they can also pick up. The candidates can pick up, and as I said, upskilling can happen in multiple different directions. And these programs are kind of custom built to help them progress into their domains. Further. I would also mention one exercise that we have been, doing very, very strongly is to primarily work with the academia. Today our partnership with the institutions is very, very strong, where we build, the learning platform. We try and help them build the curriculum and include cybersecurity comprehensively in the curriculum. And we start that from K-12 itself. So not just the graduation, our partnership today, is very, very strong with K-12 institutes as well as with the universities across globe. So we are trying to, put in our effort there to make it easier for the people who want to build career out of cybersecurity to start early in there. But as I said, multiple options are available. And many of those, are also sponsored by Fortinet that people can actually, pick up today.
Harish, you want to jump in? At Checkpoint, what would you tell your employees if they wanted to learn more?
Oh, there are, tons and tons of programs available for internal. But then, what we grapple with most of the time at Checkpoint is, no matter how hard we train people, no matter how you get people to switch their careers from something else into cybersecurity, we're always short of talent, right? So, you're always short of talent. And the systems which are deployed now are getting larger and more complex, and the bad actors are not going to go away anytime soon. So, there's always a dearth of, a dearth of talent, and hence there is always a quest for, doing something better and, getting more programs out in the field. So Checkpoint realized this quite early, and then we kind of introduced something called as Checkpoint Secure Academy. So this was provided with the objective of providing cybersecurity education worldwide, and we form partnerships with third-party institutions, etc. And under this academy, you have programs like Checkpoint Mind. It offers educators, students, as well as practitioners to, hone up their cybersecurity skills, go through additional resources, etc. And this for us is a revenue-free education program. So, generally we are not looking at making money out of this program. So we have put these programs out there. If you go to Checkpoint website and, search for Secure Academy, you would land up, at a course which I can probably say, can help you further your cybersecurity career.
Prasad, you want to jump in? At Akamai, how is it?
I mean, I'll add to what they said. I think all valid options. One on the engineering side, if you wanted to, upskill yourself, what I have seen is people go in for the open university kind of things to learn. There's so many of them today, apart from also doing specialized degrees in cybersecurity. So this really gets into commitment, investment from your side of time. But it does pay off because, you're now getting your foot into the door in that area. And it may take a year, it may take a couple of years, but that's also something I've seen personally, some team members do that.
Mahipal, your thoughts?
Yeah, so one, in terms of internal opportunities, of course, we sponsor employees for programs externally, and of course, besides the internal programs. Um, but there are also this highly specialized program from, for example, National Institute of Forensic Science. Amrita has introduced. I know Upgrad has certain specific specialized programs. Beyond that, like in terms of creating the pool, internship is something that has been working very well. There's internship and apprenticeship schemes. And government is also kind of helping. In fact, this morning I was attending an NASCOM event where KSDC, which is the Karnataka Skill Development Corporation, they have, and cybersecurity was like right up on the top in terms of skills, which was very, very heartening for me to see. So there are many of these avenues available. We, as an industry, we are trying to collaborate with government and academia. Internally, we are also encouraging our people to go, so that these couple of institutions like IISc and couple of NIITs and NITs that we are tying up to tailor certain programs which will be specific for people who learn certain basics of cybersecurity and maybe more advanced part of it, which adds to the pool. But one thing that I know will work for sure is this whole internship and apprenticeship kind of program, and which we are doing globally. And that's the only answer in terms of covering the gap. And then the other part I would say is this looking at people more from internal move, which I think everyone has spoken about, but also trying and picking more people from, which is not the usual. So you look at talent and probably create some competition hackathon and then see whether there is a talent that could emerge at which we could hire. So that's something we are exploring.
Mhm. Both Vivek or Harish, one of you had mentioned how if you want to go to interview process, you'd have something practical in your hand, right? How does one go about that? Like, can somebody maybe contribute to GitHub, participate in hackathons? Like, what's some a good way to get some practical experience onto that CV?
So,
Who wants to take that? Harish.
Sorry, yeah.
Please.
Yeah. So, hackathons are, obviously a place where you go with a prior knowledge, right? So, and then you kind of, participate in it. The best way, in my experience, is DIY, right? So, do it yourself. You have a good laptop, the laptops, what you have, where, the processing power of the laptops today is what we used to have as a servers 5 years back, right? So,
Yeah.
Build some lab for yourself on your personal laptop, start, playing around with it. And then once you get on board, once you get into the tune with what you have created, then you can go explore more and more areas. And, that is something where you can get a hands-on experience. And of course, the industry internship is another place where you can look for, and then, join, any of the organizations which are offering internship in cybersecurity. Over to you, Vivek.
Thanks, Harish. So for Fortinet, I think what we have done is, we have tried to build that platform as well. Considering there could be, different candidates who want to probably, some people may want to get into cybersecurity out of the interest that they have, just, the enthusiasts, people who are trying to build career out of it. At Fortinet Training Institute, you can probably Google it and get onto the portal there. There are many self-paced learning programs which are available, which are free of cost. And you can enroll, depending on your interest level, you can enroll on those programs and start pursuing those programs. The programs also provide you access to different labs that we have built, where you can go and, probably work out on the hands-on experience, try your own stuff and learn, as you practice it. Right. So that's the kind of platform that we have built with Fortinet Training Institute, which are available to people, different domains they can leverage and they can start working on it as well. And one more piece that I would add, for people who are already working, who are already in the cybersecurity domain, or in some roles where they want to probably take a turn towards cybersecurity, I'll talk about one of the learnings that we have had, from the exposure that we had to some of the Indian companies. We did one cybersecurity skill assessment and gap report for India as well. And most of the executives who responded to that report, they showed their willingness. Close to about 84% of them, they showed their willingness to invest in the candidates who wants to invest in themselves, on cybersecurity. So they're ready to pay for your education. They're ready to pay for your certifications. All you got to do is to go and ask for it.
No, that's very interesting.
Yeah. So that's a very important data point that people should. Normally, we don't ask for it, but normally most of the organizations are very, very willing to invest on cybersecurity. That's the kind of acceptability that has come in now from this industry standpoint. That's a very, very strategic piece, cybersecurity that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, you should be proactive and ask for all this. Prasad, thoughts?
I think Harish and Vivek covered most of it. Definitely, my suggestion would be get hands dirty. Go out there, do something. The other thing which we see is there are a lot of startups in cybersecurity. I think
a lot.
during the pandemic, a couple of hundred a year were coming out.
Yeah.
So if you have friends who are in those areas, go explore. That's also a good way to get exposure, and putting your hand up, in your own company absolutely will help.
Mahipal, you get the final word.
So I think self-learning is the key. I think everyone has said that, and I will just connect to that point that I made earlier, that at least in the cybersecurity space, the non-state actors are all trained by. Most of them are trained themselves. Again, we don't have any data whether they went to an IIT or such top-end institutions. But then the general understanding is that they have mostly self-learned. Of course, you can have a stereotype kind of image, in some dark corner sitting on the couch, somebody's playing with the word. But then, but that's also a reality that self-learning is the key here. And of course, there's a number of certification programs available. But then it's also a profession where people, even if they are in mid-career and if something that interests, and this is a space that interests a lot of people, like the topic itself creates an excitement. And the fact that the world needs more and more cybersecurity professionals, but the gap is too wide and demand is so high. Also, if you look at some of the financial panels, this is an industry that's supposed to grow 15% CAGR globally. So it's not too many. India, it's 30%. It's double. So it's a remarkable place to be in, to build a career and make a name, both. Not just make, and of course, make money as well. But then make a name is, I would say, this is the number one thing, because if you come across as the best name in cybersecurity, it's like this is the future.
I think that's the perfect point to end it at. We should learn from the hackers themselves. If they are so hardworking and can teach themselves all this, why can't any one of us, right?
Absolutely.
So excellent. Thanks everyone for this lively discussion. To all our viewers, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more such engaging discussions. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Akil.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.